Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. And welcome to Smash Saturday, where we talk about all things Smash related until we get a new Smash game, whether that be Smash 6 or Smash Ultimate Deluxe. Now, I recently did a Smash video on the Mount Rushmore of Smash Ultimate, and I really love my picks. Go watch that video after this one is done if you want to hear my opinion on that. And I had a commenter ask about my Melee Mount Rushmore and my personal opinion, so it's not like really based and like... There is almost pretty much an objective answer because we have so much dominance, especially in the early era of Melee. But I wanted to run with that, so I'm going to be mostly going off the top of my head. I've thought about it a little bit. I think it will be fairly based, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. And the more I've thought about it, I'm like, man, I think I'm probably going to pick a lot of picks that other people would do as well. But there might be a wild card in there. We'll see. I'm gonna decide by the end of this who I want to be as my fourth pick here. But let's start off with an easy one with H-Box. Now, this is actually my personal number one of all time. I think H-Box's dominance for so many years, like losing to hardly anybody for that big stretch of time where he was the clear number one. I think that stretch is so phenomenal. But not only that, he has a top 8 streak that went almost a decade long, which I think is fairly unprecedented. If you look at other players like Mango, other like top 3 threats, you've got Armada and stuff, they had a level of dominance, but I don't know if anyone's really matched that level that H-Box had for that long. And especially doing it with Jigglypuff as well, elevating the character to such incredible heights and putting it in the conversation of being like the best character in the world for a little bit of time. There were some players talking about how Jigglypuff was just the number one, that she was better than Fox, which of course is not true. I don't think that's ever actually been true, but the fact that H-Box was making people think that it was true is so fantastic. And he's been winning tournaments pretty much every single year since entering the Melee scene and becoming like one of the most dominant forces in the Melee scene ever. Has he won a tournament this year? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to think if he's won a major this year. I don't know if he has, actually. I don't think he has this year. This might be like the first year that he hasn't won a single major, which is kind of crazy, but he's still he finally broke his top 8 streak. He got like 9th place once, but after that he's been really consistent, keeping in that top 8 conversation, even going all the way to the grands, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or at least top 3 for sure, taking Zayn to like game 5 so many times, not quite clinching it there. But the fact that he was so dominant for so long, the undisputed number one, he's won the biggest major tournaments, I think, with the exception of Supernova, SmashCon. It's just really impressive to see. H-Box is my favorite player. I really love it, which is really funny to me because typically I don't like the stall playstyle. I don't really like the zoners. But the way he plays Jigglypuff is just so cool. And watching him beat the best characters in Melee just so effectively, and the way he can clutch comebacks is just really impressive to me. Let's go with number 2, which is going to be Mango. Again, like I said, this is probably going to be fairly based. I think Mango is a obvious choice here. I think mostly because of a few factors. He is first and foremost considered by most people to be the best Melee player of all time. And if you said that to me, if you said Mango definitely is the best player of all time, I wouldn't say you're wrong. He's definitely, I think, in my top 2. I think it's Hungrybox and it's Mango. Maybe throw Armada in that mix, but those are my easy top 3s. And I think that Mango, what makes him so cool, what makes him so interesting is that he's just not like other players in almost any sense. For the longest time, he's this chain smoker, binge drinker, like just partying guy. I remember one time there was like a thing talking about, like, he was pre-Johnning before a tournament about how he was like staying up until 3 a.m. gambling and drinking and smoking, and then he had a tournament the next morning, pool was early in the morning. He ended up beating Cody at that tournament like almost immediately. I think he 3-0'd him, and after Johnning that he was gonna suck and everything. That's Mango. He's just crazy. He's just out of this world insane. And the fact that he has been so consistently phenomenal year to year since his dominance in the early days of Melee is what most people look at when they see like the best of all time. Like, Hungrybox was dominant for a very long stretch, and over the last couple of years, he hasn't been nearly as dominant, but Mango still rises to the top at big majors every now and again. Just out of the blue, he just decides he's going to win. And that's something that's really admirable to see, and he does it primarily with Falco. Now, you would expect it to be a Fox player typically, but he plays pretty much only Fox against Hungrybox. He doesn't really play against any other character, he uses Falco. And Falco is, I think, objectively on the whole, just a worse version of Fox for most people's money. I know he does a lot of different things, despite them being fairly similar, but watching him play with Falco is just really, really cool. There are some other great Falco players, don't get me wrong. Magi's fantastic. I know we had several other ones that I really liked watching for a while. I haven't seen some of them in the scene for a while. I think one of them retired, but Magi's really cool, but nothing really touches Mango's Falco because it's just that smooth and fluid. He knows the best ways to extend combos and to take your stocks early, and it's just really fantastic to see. And the way that he dismantles some of the best players, even to this day, like even the top talent now, he can still take them to their paces or even beat them with not a whole lot of effort, it seems like, when he's just really playing on the top of his game. He does have some low lows when he just decides he's not trying, or he loses early on and then just DQs, or decides to go Dr. Mario because he's pissed. Like, there are those things, but I don't think that takes away from his skill. I think that's just more like he just decides that this tournament's not for him. And I just think that he's a really cool player to watch. I like his play style, and I like that he does it with Falco and not Fox. Number 3 is going to be, oh man, see, this is where I'm spitballing here. I'm gonna throw some names around here and we'll see which one sticks. I think I want to put Armada up there. I definitely want to. I like Mewtwo King is up there in my brain. Again, like super based. You've got Leffen that could easily be up there with the way that he dismantled the gods and was the God Slayer for a long time. I wasn't as keyed into the Melee scene back in the day. I would watch here and there, but then I really started getting into it, I think during like H-Box's rise to like becoming less of the villain and more of the hero of the Smash community. That's when I first started like really getting into Melee. I really would like to put Amsa up there. Like, I think that he definitely could be. Zane and Cody are definite picks that you could go. Like, my heart wants to say Jmook because I really love what he does. It's hard to say that he's on the Mount Rushmore, but I think that he's on the trajectory to do so. So I'm gonna stick with Armada here. I think Armada is a really special player. I think that the way that he plays Peach is something that we've never been able to replicate since. I've watched a lot of the old VODs, I've watched documentaries on the Smash scene. The way that he plays Peach is just something special. Now, we've seen like Laud, we've seen some other really great Peach players. Laud has come the closest to being like the kind of Peach player that we saw with Armada, like, but he loses to H-Box. Has like this whole giant thing about how to get good at Melee. He like wrote this big document for people, and he's so methodical with the way he plays Peach, but he thinks that like the Jigglypuff matchup is pretty much unwinnable, and Armada didn't have that problem. In fact, Armada didn't have that problem with anybody. Now, to be fair, Armada also played Fox. He wasn't a solo Peach main, but the way that he played Fox was also pretty dominant. There's no one quite like Armada since him. Like, since he retired, we haven't seen anyone reach the heights that he did with Peach. And the way that he played Peach was just so inspiring. It was really impressive. It was really methodical. It was really like, it just dismantled his opponent's play style, and it was just a really cool thing to see. Again, watching the VODs from some of his videos, it's just awe-inspiring seeing someone play Melee to this level. Again, not with Fox, not with Falco, not with Sheik even. Watching him do that is just really fantastic. All right, now we're going to get to the final pick, and I already have mine, but I want to talk about some honorable mentions. I think Amsa, for sure, could be up in that conversation for how much he's done with a character that at one point was considered like mid-low tier category of a character. Doing it with solo Yoshi is not only so impressive, but like unprecedented. The way that he won the first major with Yoshi and then just kept going, at one point being in the conversation for best player in the world, that is insane to me. I think that he deserves at very least an honorable mention. I could see him hitting the Mount Rushmore if not like he just recently won another major, beating Cody in grand finals. Insane. He's just out of this world insane. Jmook's another one of those. The first solo Sheik to win a major, and then he started winning, and then was like in contention to be number 1. He had a little bit of a fall off. I think school got in the way mostly, but he just, again, won a recent big tournament, the final major of the year. I think Jmook has the potential to be a Mount Rushmore candidate at the very least. Easily a top 10 of all time ballot. Like, you could easily put him in that conversation. I think Mewtwo King, for the way that he played Marth and the way what he did for the scene way back in the day. PPMD, obviously. We could throw in Leffen, like I said previously. We could also throw in Cody and Cody Schwab doing solo Fox, because it's surprisingly hard to solo Fox win things. He was the first person to win a major with solo Fox. He's been incredibly dominant. But there is one player that I think is more dominant than Cody, today, and I think that it's a more impressive thing, and that's going to be Zane. I'm going to put Zane as my final Mount Rushmore, my only modern era pick for my Mount Rushmore of Melee. And I think it's pretty simple why. He is playing it with Marth, who is obviously a phenomenal character, top 3, top 5, however you want to spin it here. One of the best, he's easily the best person that's ever played Marth. And that includes some of the greats. I mean, Mewtwo King was incredibly dominant for a very long time. But again, Hungrybox at one point had the Marth matchup pretty much down to a science. He was destroying Marths, dismantling them. He could not lose to a Marth player, including Zane. He was destroying Zane left and right. But Zane is one of those players that is a really special player that comes around once in every like decade or so, that he just plays the game so perfectly. He's so smart. He loses very few matches, even very few games, let alone. He doesn't tend to drop sets. If you see him in a bracket, you can almost guarantee that he's going to be in grand finals. And if he loses early on, he's probably going to make a deep losers run and make it back to grands. He's just that consistent. He's that good. And again, with a character like Marth, despite Marth's incredible grab range, he's got great zoning tools. He can kill you really early. He's no Fox. He's not a Falco. He's like, he's maybe a Falco, but there are some matchups that he really struggles with, like Sheik, for instance, specifically Jmook, doing an incredible job against Zane specifically. He still finds ways to win against a lot of players that typically should or would normally beat him. I also forgot to, but while I'm talking about it here, I forgot to put Plup in the mix for honorable mentions. I think Plup is insane, out of this world cool. He just doesn't attend enough things to get ranked, and that's so funny to me that he's like a top 10 player in the world right now, but he never doesn't attend enough to get ranked. But Plup playing Sheik, he could definitely do it, but Zane just finds a way to win anyway. I think Zane is well deserving of that spot. I think he's the undisputed #1 right now. I don't think that Cody will probably play for a whole lot longer. I'm guessing that he will at least soft retire soon-ish. It just seems like that seems to be the trajectory that he's taking. And I don't want to take away from Cody at all. He's absolutely insane at the game. He's absolutely cracked with Fox. I've never seen someone break down Fox like him and do it as well as him. Obviously, the way that he dismantles Hungrybox and very rarely loses to him. I know I use Hungrybox a lot as an example, but Hungrybox like beat these matchups so thoroughly, and to have two players just really figure him out and figure out how to beat him over the course of years and years is just really cool to see. And to see them consistently do it against one of the best players of all time is really fantastic. And they do it against other people too. Zane regularly beats Jmook despite the Sheik Marth matchup being pretty hard. He doesn't shift off to other characters. He just sticks with the Marth. He sticks out the bad matchups. He figures out players when he needs to, and it's just really fantastic. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think about my Mount Rushmore picks. Let me know what I got wrong, who your Mount Rushmore is. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.